Shalom Aleichem. Many asked the question about Simchat Torah this year. It's been a very hard year, and all the terrible things that happened last year in Simchat Torah. And Simchat Torah, as we spoke before, is the correct time of the yortzeit of those many that were murdered so brutally. Are we allowed to have a regular Simchat Torah, like every year, dance with the Torah, sing, clap, be extremely happy? Or should we be mourning those that died in that day? It's only a year ago, everything is still fresh. Let's see how's the halacha viewing this. So we found this halacha in a few places relating to a person that became avel or onen. Onen is a person that lo alenu, somebody in his family close to him died, like his parents, his children, lo alenu. And when he becomes a onen, the halacha says in Shulchan Aruch, Siman Tafkuf Memchet, and soon after the regel starts, the Chag, the Yom Tov starts, or it became such during the Chag. What would be the halacha? Is he practicing avelut, or can he celebrate the Chag? It says in the halacha, הקובר את מתו בתוך הרגל, לא חל עליו avelut baregel. Avelut does not apply in the Chag at all. He's not allowed to practice avelut laws during the Chag. Not only that, also a person that became he'onen, same thing. It says over here, why not? לא חל, דעת היא מצוות עשה דשמחת הרגל שהוא עשה דרבים, ודחי אבלות שהוא רק מצווה דיחיד. Which means, although the avelut on the first day is deoraita, it's a mitzvah min Torah to be avel and practice the laws of avelut, but the mitzvah of Simchat Yom Tov pushes and overrides that avelut, because Simchat HaRegel is mitzvat aseh derabim. It belongs to Klal Yisrael, and therefore that has preference, and he is not permitted to practice avelut. But can he celebrate that day in the next year if it's a Chag? Says the halacha that he does. The Yom Tov and the Chag he should celebrate the next year regularly. Even more so, in Sefer Menite Gavriel, he brings down that on Chol HaMoed he's allowed to hear music. Even though in that day, for example, on Chol HaMoed, he became last year Avel, his relative passed away. This year, usually on the day of the yortzeit, people either fast or they stay away from listening to music, and they don't go to parties and so on. But since it's Chol HaMoed, he practices regularly. Even he's allowed to hear and listen to music. So we see the approach of the Torah is that the Chag takes preference. And we found this idea in many places. And really, when you think about it, you see that throughout our very hard exile, people were slaughtered many times during holidays, and still on a holiday, we still celebrate it regularly. And we have designated a day to remember them on Tisha B'Av, on the 3 weeks prior to Tisha B'Av. Those are the days that we try to remember all these sad things. But when we're dealing with the Simcha of Yom Tov, we're not allowed to touch it. If you think about it, it also makes sense, because the Simcha of Yom Tov is not a personal Simcha. It's not something that we do for ourselves. We want to become more happy. We want to have joy. It's not about ourselves. When we're celebrating the Yom Tov, we're celebrating Hashem's Yom Tov. And it's avodah, it's work. It's part of avodat Hashem. It's a mitzvah to be happy on Yom Tov. The Gra even said more than that. He said that one of the hardest mitzvot of the Torah is v'samachta b'chagecha, that a person should be happy on a holiday. It's very hard for a person to be happy if he doesn't feel that way. You have to force yourself to be happy. The halacha in the Rambam, he brings down that one must force himself to dance with the Torah as David HaMelech was mepazpez umecharker, and he did so even though he was a king, and it was in a way humiliating. His wife Michal saw him. She said, "What is this? You're dancing like any simple person. You're king. You should have dignity." And she was punished for what she said, because the idea of the Chag is that it's not personal. If a person dances and he sings and he feels happy because he feels happy, that could be something that we can maybe discuss. Maybe it's right or wrong in a certain time. But over here, it's totally avodat Hashem, to be happy in the day of Yom Tov, of the Chag, especially of the Chag of Sukkot, especially on Simchat Torah. That is something that it's not personal. It's what Hashem commanded us to do, and it's part of avodat Hashem. Still, a person should have some type of feeling towards that day, and usually, just like we see that on Yom Tov, the Ashkenazim do Yizkor, and even Sfaradim, they do Azkara when they go up to the Torah, and we don't consider that something to interrupt the holiness and the happiness of the day, but we do remember on that day those that were killed, and just like people do Yizkor, and they remind with that the relative that passed away. So something that should be done and should be remembered. Maybe people should do something during the Tefillah or during the Kriyat Torah. Maybe even during the dancing, stop and say a certain Tehillim for that day. Could be that that's something that could be done, but generally, a person should have the Simchat Yom Tov on Simchat Torah and have the dancing and going around the bima with the Sifrei Torah, just like any Simchat Torah, because again, it's nothing personal. It's just avodat Hashem. It's part of what we are obligated on that to do on that day, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we should all hear Besorot Tovot and Chag Sameach.